The CBO has come out with a new analysis which says that the United States will basically go up in smoke and cease to exist if our ridiculous spending pattern is not altered. Will anyone listen to this? I'm Allen Barton. Stand by for Front Page. Joining me in studio, Yaron Brook, president of the Ayn Rand Center for Individual Rights, and Terry Jones, associate editor for Investors Business Daily. All right, so the CBO has issued this report saying that if, per the schedule in 2013, a bunch of taxes are supposed to go up, a bunch of spending is supposed to be cut, as called for under the law and the various agreements come to in 2011. Terry, what do you think of the report? Is it a good one? Do you think it's accurate, and what should we be doing about it?
Well, I think it's accurate as far as it goes. I mean, there is going to be a fiscal cliff of sorts because we're due to have a bunch of taxes go up at the end of this year, and the grand total is about $500 billion. This the impact of that could be pretty severe if the CBO is correct. They think it'll cause a downturn of about 1.3% in the economy in the first half next year. So the tax hikes that come with this, the expiration of the Bush tax cuts, the AMT tax is going to go even deeper into the middle class. The 2% payroll tax is going to expire. All these things are going to hit at the same
tax, the sort of setup taxes are going into effect.
That's correct. So all of these things are set to hit at the same time. So they will have to do something to maneuver around this, but what they will do as of yet is unclear.
All right, Yaron. Senator Tom Coburn has warned that another ratings downgrade is possibly coming for the United States. Let's take a look.
Our credit rating wasn't downgraded because of that. Our credit rating was downgraded because we didn't address the biggest cost drivers in front of us, which is Medicare, Social Security, and Medicaid. We didn't touch those. They weren't touched. And S&P's downgrade on us was right. Matter of fact, we're going to get another downgrade. I can tell you right now, you could have a great legal case for suing the rating agencies for not downgrading us again because we have not demonstrated the political will to solve the problems.
Yaron, what do you think?
Well, I think he's absolutely right. And I think he's right about another downgrade. And I think he's right about unless you address the entitlement programs, you get nowhere in terms of the long-term prospects of cutting government spending. But it's not just that we haven't touched those programs. We haven't touched anything. I mean, all the cuts that they've talked about are bogus cuts. There are no real cuts. And look, this is not sustainable. This is, I mean, we can play games, but either there are only two options at this point. You either cut government spending dramatically. You cannot tax our way out of this, no matter what Obama says, no matter what the numbers generate. You can't tax your way out of it. So either cut spending dramatically or you inflate your way out of it. There's no other way. And both of those are very ugly. All of us pay the price. The middle class will get crushed by inflation. If we cut spending, you know, actually the economy will. This is the false view of austerity. Well, austerity generated from spending cuts generates economic growth. It's not austerity. The austerity, the suffering, comes from increasing taxes and increasing regulations.
But isn't the suffering, Terry will bring you in, isn't the suffering from austerity because governments start laying off massive amounts of people, so the unemployment rate goes up, the benefits for those unemployed are being cut off because they've already gone to like 753 weeks, and so you're going to have sort of this increased unhappiness and difficulty for those in the workforce, at least in the short term.
Yeah, you are. I mean, there is always, you know, short-term pain that you have to deal with. But look, you know, Yaron's completely correct. I mean, we cannot address these problems with anything other than very, very deep cuts. And you know, they're talking about here about, you know, the automatic cuts that will go into effect if Republicans don't agree to a tax hike. Well, what are those cuts? You know, you'd think, well, these are going to be draconian cuts, we're told. $65 billion in cuts. $65 billion in a budget that's
But weren't they talking about major
trillion.
cuts to defense, like something like $500 billion? That Panetta is freaking out about
That's
and
over
saying,
10,
you
that's
cannot.
over 10 years.
I got you.
And yes, you know, I don't like to see defense cut, But defense, just like every other program, has fat in it. It has wasteful programs. It has things that it doesn't need to be doing. So let's look at everything and cut them across the board. But by all means, entitlements have to be
But what do you
attacked.
think? Because Boehner's trying to draw a line in the sand like he did last summer, which is like, if you're going to raise taxes, or we want dollar for dollar cuts in spending for every dollar you want to raise in taxes, and they get their butts kicked on this argument because it seems like the Democrats demagogue the crap out of it, and so they agree to what you said, false cuts in the rate of growth of spending, or these things that never actually materialize in spending X, and then next year we spend less than
See, I think the thing that terrifies Republicans more than anything else is winning in November. Imagine, they have the House, they have the Senate, they have the presidency. Now they actually have to cut. They actually have to do the stuff, and they just, this is hard. There's going to be short-term pain. Some people benefit more than other people. You're going to have to cut a little bit in defense, because I think there is fat there. You're going to have to completely restructure entitlements. And the fact is that the American people, because they've been lied to over and over and over again, and because they don't take a long-term perspective, are not quite ready for that. And there's going to be we're going to have to prep them to accept these cuts. Now, I think the Republicans, if they win, are going to fold. I think they'll fold no matter what, because they haven't shown the backbone to actually present plans that are real. I mean, the Paul Ryan plan, which is supposed to be radical, government increases at 3% a year instead of at 4.8% a year. Not good enough if we're going to avoid the cliff that's out there.
And what is the nature of the cliff? Is it just a double dip recession? Would it be a double dip at this point? It seems like it just be another recession.
The nature of the cliff is really, it's entirely a government fiscal cliff. It's not a private sector cliff. The private sector is doing okay right now. It's the federal government that's screwed up. And the cliff has two elements to it. One is the automatic sequestration of funds, that is cuts, small though they are, that go into effect, and also the tax hikes. Those will have a double whammy effect, because people will get their first paycheck next year, and it'll be considerably smaller than the one before, and that'll have a feed-through effect.
But the real big cliff is when people are now willing to buy U.S. debt at 2-3%, but are going to demand 8, 10, 12% on a return because of the risk of never getting paid back. That's where the real cliff happens, and that's a lot worse than a recession.
Yeah, because you'll see an immediate backup in interest rates, and it'll be sharp and scary.
All right, guys, for Yaron and Terry, I am Allen Barton, and you've been watching Front Page.